All right, we're recording, so we're good to go, Don. Just a quick introduction. Don is going to show us a little bit about file management for xLights for this series in the VCS 2024. So, Don, with that, it is all yours.
Hey, thanks very much, Will. We're gonna try and help some people out with file management with their shows and stuff. We I want to create the right folders for you, show you what files you might need, how to use them. We'll show you some tips and tricks that you can utilize down the road, if that helps. We know that the developers are constantly updating xLights and making this thing uh, so much better. 2011 is when I started. It was called Nutcracker back then. I've been doing animated lights forever. When Mr. Christmas Box came out, I enjoy sequencing and helping others with their displays. I play guitar and sing. We do 6 shows a month for the seniors. So that's a little bit of history about myself. So we're not going to go into a whole bunch of stuff. If you've never created a show folder or a file folder, let's kind of start with the basics. So you've downloaded xLights and you have no clue what to do. So we're just going to come onto the desktop. I'm just going to right click, and I'm using a PC. I'm not an Apple guy, and people with Apple's computers, they'll know how to create a new folder on your desktop. So we're just going to create a new folder. I've always been a firm believer of naming this folder. Give it a name, whether you want to call it your light show. If you have a specific name for your light show, you can call it whatever you want. For today, we're going to call this VCS. And that will just give us a rough idea of, I've got nothing in this folder. That's great. I'm going to open xLights. xLights is going to say to me, once it's open, it's going to say, when you first open xLights, it'll say directed to a show folder. Okay, so I'm going to change it permanently. I'm going to come to my desktop and I'm going to come down and look for VCS. And right now, if I save that, when I go back to that VCS folder that I just created, you're going to see that xLights is automatically put some files in there. And these are files that you want to keep. This file is your lifeline. This file is your lifeline. These and your backup. These 3 folders right there are going to be, it's like a defibrillator. You need that. Do not ever lose that. Put that somewhere. Okay? That's really important to have. So the reason that I say that is we're going to be adding more file folders in here. And when we get into this is, sorry, I'll come back here to this one. What do I put in the folder and why do I need these other files? Well, they're going to help you in the long run when you have a show. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to add a new folder. Okay. What do I want in my VCS show folder? Well, if I'm going to be running any sequences, then I want to make sure that I've got a sequence folder. And that's great. So if I create a sequence, I can put that sequence in here. So if we come back to xLights, now you're going to see that I don't have any. I'll just, let me move this guy out of the way for a second. Get him up there. I don't need that. Oh, quit it. You got to like it. So you see, I don't have any controller set up or anything right now. Scott just went through that, and I can add a null controller if I want. I don't need anything. I don't have anything in the layout. And I'm going to go through this a little bit with some naming. With file management, it's very important to have something named. I'm just going to add a tree right now, and I'm going to call it MegaTree. And I'm anal on this part of the naming of your props. I help a pile of people, and you wouldn't believe how many trees people have in their display. And guess what? You want to know what the name is? It's called tree. Well, that doesn't help if you're trying to troubleshoot. So I'm very anal on a tree. So we can save that, and I don't need to save the name. It's asking me if I want to save the old name. I'm just going to say no. I want the new name to be MegaTree in all of my sequences. So if I create a new sequence and I create a quick animation sequence, I'm just going to hit done, and it doesn't matter. So I've got the MegaTree on here, and I can grab any prop I want and just throw something on this tree, and I don't care what it is. And I'm not worried about what it looks like. This is more or less, now I'm going to save it. I'll render it, and I'm going to save it. And it's going to ask me, where do I want to save it? Well, it's a sequence. So I want this in my sequence folder, but I want to give it a name. For now, I'm just going to call it a test. I'll drop it in my sequence folder, and I'll hit save. And now when I come back to my desktop and I look and I open up my sequence folder, there's my sequence. And I could have 200 sequences in here, but I know where they all are all the time. They're in my sequence folder. Is everybody following me so far with the couple of things that we've done?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that I like to have in my sequence folder, I call it images. You can call it whatever you want. Okay. With images, you can put pictures in here. And if you want to put a GIF file, you can put a GIF file in here. Whatever you want to put in here. And I'm just going to actually go steal a picture. And I don't care. I'll just grab one from here. We'll grab this guy. I'll copy it down here somewhere. Copy it. And I'll close that out. And I'll paste that in there. So now I've got a JPEG Santa Claus. I want to come back into xLights again. I can hit this guy here, and let's just change this to a picture. And you're going to see that the tree is red, this box is red. But I can come up to my VCS, I can come to images, and I can drop this Santa picture on here. I don't know how well it's going to show. And it's only because my tree is so looped up. Had I tightened up that tree, we would see that image really well. And we probably could tighten it up. And I'll just add a few strings here and sort of see what we come up with. Let's go with 200. And let's go with 5. Yeah, okay, now it wants to render. That's fine. This won't be a big render. And just give me the model. I don't really need the... And now you start to see you can get a bit of an image on there. Works well with matrices and things like that. Now that we've got some images in here, a lot of people, they like to use video in their displays. So obviously, let's just create another new folder. And we'll hit video. It's important that your videos are MP4s. You can insert a video into your matrix and have that playing. Some people with all the new songs that are out there and all of the sequences that are happening. There's a lot of videos being used in there. So this is a good place to store your videos. We've got Rodney Blackwell. There's all this in the sequence folder. when you're asking that, Rodney, I'm just not sure what you're asking. Go ahead and unmute and ask me your question.
Well, we've got a sequence folder here, and then I thought you were putting all this in the sequence folder, but it looks like you're putting it in your general VCS folder.
Well, this VC. If I close this window, Rodney, here's my VCS folder, and inside this folder is where I create my video folders, my sequence folders. You can already see xLights has done a render cache for me. It's done my palettes. It's done some presets. The images folder I have added, the color curves xLights has added, and the backup folder. So all I'm doing, Rodney, is adding folders inside this folder so that I don't have to hunt around and say, oh man, one of the most important folders that I like to throw in here is a music folder. And why do I want to put that in there? So if I'm working on some sequences and I want to create a new sequence, I've got the music all in, everything's tight right in here. Everything's just nice and tight, and I don't have to search and this is the old style. This is the old way. This is the way that I learned how to do it years ago, and it works for me. There's a lot of things that I've got. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but everything is inside the VCS folder.
I thought you had jumped in to start putting them in the sequence folder, but I see what you've done there. Thank you.
Yeah. What I've done is I created a sequence and I saved it to the sequence folder is what I did. Okay. I don't want to just save a sequence and then have all of my sequence down here. And I'll show you what happens. I'm not sure if I can do it, but let's just try another one. Let's just close this one and we'll try another one. Yeah. Okay. Save the changes. Doesn't matter. That's fine. Let's try a new animation. I'll just hit done. And here, put anything on here. It doesn't matter what we're going to put on here. Okay. And we're going to save that. And now if I just save it, see, I haven't selected any folders and I'm just going to go test 2. I see this a whole bunch. Okay. And I've saved that. Now I'm going to come back here to my folder. You see where it put it, Rodney? Is in here. And if you keep saving all of your sequences, you're going to be scrolling in here forever.
Yeah, now you're starting to look like my file structure.
Okay. So if you have that, you can create a sequence folder, and it's very easy. Select that folder, hold your shift key down, select that folder, and drag them up to the sequence folder. And now we've got test and test 2.
Thank you.
Okay. And that will certainly help you going that way. I just check the messages, see if there's any other questions. Mine is all over the place. I'd love to have mine cleaned up. I have to look everywhere to find anything. We can certainly clean you up. That's not a problem. It's not hard to clean things up, Rich. So if you're using shaders, if you go into xLights, and let's just say we're going to drop a shader effect on here, here's a shader effect here, shockwave, shimmer, shader. Okay, so let's just drop a shader effect in here, and I don't have any, right? I don't have any. Like, I can browse, but I don't have any shaders. So I've got to download a shader effect. So we're just going to download, and I'll just take that. I'll take this one. We'll download it. I don't care what it looks like. That's fine. Okay, but now I'll save it. That's great. And now if I come back to xLights, we should have a shaders folder, which xLights creates for you. These are folders that xLights will do for you. Interesting that this sequence came back again. Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, no big deal. But you'll see that those are now in here. Okay, that shader effect is in there because xLights automatically does that for you. So, Okay, I've been through that already. I'm pretty fast when it comes to this stuff. And if I'm going too fast for you, just let me know. Um, I'm not, uh, your show folder should be kept in a place you can get easy access to. You have to know where your show folder is. And so when I say that now, you can put it in, if you want to put it in your documents, you can put it in your documents. I leave a lot of mine on the desktop just because I'm in and out of all of my folders all the time. But if you just have a one show folder and you want to leave it in your documents, well, we just go to our documents and we can paste this in there. And the VCS is now in here. And I can actually delete this. But when I come back to xLights and I come back to the controller page and I'm going to hit, it's asking me. So I don't have a file there anymore. So I'm going to have to go to my documents and I have to find my VCS folder. And it's a one click. That's telling xLights where your show folder is at. That's all that's doing. When we come to the layout, there's our tree. If we come up and we make a new sequence, actually, let's just open. Let's just make another. I'll make another animation and I'm just notice I'm just going to done. I'm not selecting 40 frames or 20 frames or custom because I'm just doing an animation, and this is strictly for test modes. I know there's been lots of guys that have been doing some sequencing and sequencing classes, and they've been through all of that with you. So you'll find lots of other things to do in here. So we've got this, and I'm going to save this now. So it's going to go to documents, but I want to put it in my sequence folder. So I'll select sequence and I can just go test. Test 3 is good enough. And I'll save that. So when I go back now to my documents, because a lot of people will have them in their documents, and I'm assuming that a lot of people do have them in their documents. Lots of people will leave them on their desktop. It doesn't matter where you leave it, as long as you know where it's at. Some people will leave it in their C drive. Nothing wrong with that. Just you need to know where everything is.
All right. So one question in chat, Don, was if they're doing a
Okay.
Halloween and a Christmas show folder, would
Yes.
they have one called Halloween and another called Christmas?
Perfect. Okay. So let's come to our document folder. I'm gonna drag this guy back out to the desktop just so I don't have to keep rolling in there. Okay. So here is our Christmas folder. Okay. But we want to create another folder and we want to call it Halloween. And that's sort of what you're trying to get at, right? So we could drop a Halloween folder into this folder if we want, or we could actually create a brand new folder. Which way is right? Which way is wrong? It's a personal preference. I don't think there's any wrong or right way to do this. So you could actually make a new folder, and I'm going to do it right inside here, and I'm going to call this Halloween. That's my Halloween folder. Okay, but what I've got nothing in there. So diddly squat. So what I could do is if I wanted to do this, I don't want to take all of my Christmas music over there, but if you look right now, I don't have anything in here. So what you could do is you can take, you might have some images, but you want these folders in there. So I'm going to take images and I'm just going to copy everything all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to open up my Halloween folder. Yeah, cancel that. That's fine. And I'm going to paste that. Yeah, that's fine. And of course, that didn't paste for me because Halloween created 118. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So cancel that. So let me change this up. I'll drag the Halloween folder out here. And now I'll paste it in here. And it should take, and there's the VCS. And so I want all of this stuff in here, is what I'm looking for. Now, if you notice, I'm still going to have all of these sequences in here, but I can eliminate all of these sequences really quickly by throwing them out. And this is now my Halloween show folder. If you look, if we open up xLights, and let's rename this VCS Halloween. Okay, now if I wanted to, I could drop it right into this folder, which I can do that. When I open this up, there's my VCS Halloween folder. If I come into xLights and I come to the controller page, I can change it temporarily or I can change it permanently. If I'm working on my Halloween show folder, I'll just change it permanently. And I'll come into the VCS folder, which is down here. And I'm just going to do a one click and open that. That's fine. Open it. Okay. Now I can start adding some Halloween props if I wanted to. Let's just take a Halloween prop, and I don't care which one I grab from. I'm not going to be gender specific or anything. Take a Halloween singer. We'll just sing here. Evil clown. Let's drop the evil clown in there. Yep. And so I've got evil clown. Now, what I can do is I know that when I'm sequencing, I will put evil clown, and in the bottom here, I'll put EFL. So I know that I got that prop from Jackie. If somebody says, hey, where did you get this from? I can say I got it from Jackie just by looking at it. And I can hit save. Okay. Come back. There's a bunch of questions here. So just have a look and see what we got here.
The next one was in regards to using Dropbox or another sort of cloud storage for the main show folder.
Yeah. So some people use Dropbox. I'm not a Dropbox guy. I've used it a couple of times. I've got a 2 terabyte external hard drive that I'll drop everything into when I'm done sequencing for the day. That way I don't lose anything. Now, Dropbox is actually a really good thing to have. I just got tired of the fees paying for it. So it again, it's a personal deal, but I do use a terabyte drive. But if you like Dropbox and you know how to use it, then definitely go ahead, okay, and use your Dropbox. That's fine. Okay, just sort of seeing if we're
Looks like Alex covered the other one, but
okay, good. Yeah.
I guess Jeff, if not, speak up or just kind of note it.
Yeah, that's fine. So now that we've got a Halloween folder, again, we can just create a quick animation sequence, and automatically I should have the evil clown face in here. And I'm not putting anything in here. I'm just doing this real quick to give you an idea. And I can save this. It's in my VCS Halloween, and there should be a sequence folder in here, which there isn't. And I don't know why that didn't come over, but it should have come over. And it didn't. So I will actually drop a new folder in here. And I'll just drop it in here, and I'll do Halloween test 1. And so now if I do come back, I didn't save it. That's my fault. Now, if you come back into the Halloween show, we should have it there, and it is there. Okay. So Do you want to have a subfolder inside another folder? You can have it. Yes, either way, it's up to you. A lot of people will just separate their folders completely, drag this out, and just keep that as two separate show folders. If you want to do it that way, that's fine. It's a personal preference thing. Once you get used to working with it one way, you can try different. There's different ways to do this. You don't have to do it this way. You can try other ways. As long as it makes sense to you, that is the absolute most important thing. You have to understand what everything is in here. And if you know that, let's just say that you don't want to call this images. Let's say you want to call that pictures. Well, then go ahead and rename it. It doesn't matter, right? Go ahead and rename it and call it pictures. It doesn't matter as long as it makes sense to you. But remember, if you make a change in here, then you've got to go in xLights and you will have to redirect your image or your picture. It'll ask you to do that, but that's another topic completely. The backup plan. Okay, always have a backup plan with your lights, and that's what I'm talking about. Is the Dropbox question was great. I use a terabyte drive. A lot of people will have they'll work on one computer at the office, and they've got a computer at home. And how can they sync that? Well, I've never had to do that because I've got my laptop and I head around and I go every which way with that. So I've never had to do that, but there are guys on here that do that, and they will know and they'll be able to tell you how to do that. So let's just have a look. I'm just reading some of these. Yeah, correct. And importing sequences. Alex is talking about importing sequences. Everybody kind of has their own way to import a sequence. There's no right way, no wrong way. If it works for you, use it. That's cut and dry. I mean, if you get it to work, that's perfect. Yeah, on a Mac, iCloud is free to use. Very good. And I don't have a Mac. Got an iPhone. I don't know if that counts. But there's really not an awful lot to, I mean, I could keep going and we could talk for a long time, but basically the whole premise is to set up a show folder that you know where it is and what the name is. You know where your music is, you know where your pictures are, you know where your sequences are, you know where your videos are. Again, this folder, and this folder are golden. Okay, those are ones that you don't want to lose. You can always redo sequences and you can always do that. But if you have a terabyte drive or you're using Dropbox, then you won't lose any of this stuff. I don't think there's too much sense in beating a dead horse with a stick. You can create different show folders. You can create if you do an Easter show folder, if you do a Veteran Day show, you can have all kinds of different folders if you want. It'll all work. xLights will take you there. It'll get you there. It'll do what you want to do. It's a real cool program. So thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. It's just naming your props to me. If you're gonna, I mean, and I'll just flip back to the Christmas. I'll flip back to the VCS Christmas one on the. To me, this is absolutely imperative. Okay, if you're going to call that a MegaTree, great. If you're going to call this an arch, that's fine. Call it an arch. You're going to call these candy canes, call it a candy cane. But so now you can do it two way. You can do, a lot of people will copy and paste. Let's say we need a mini tree. So we're going to drop a mini tree in here. Okay, you see how it automatically gives you that name of a tree? Well, let's just fire this up and call it a mini tree. All right. No, I don't want to keep the old name. I don't care about the old name. Doesn't matter to me. But now if I want to make copies of this tree, I can hit Control C and Control V a few times. And you notice here that it's giving me mini tree. That's the first mini tree that I created right there. There's mini tree 2. Mini tree 4 is over here. And there's 3. So now I can just quickly sort them into order. And I don't have to mess around with anything. When you get them all set up, go ahead and highlight them, right click on them and hit that lock button. And now you won't accidentally ever delete those. But important to have nice names, because if you're working with a MegaTree and you say to the guy, hey, I got a problem with my tree and all these are named tree, we don't know what tree you're talking about. Okay, so there's an arch. You got a big arch, great. You get candy canes and you can create a bunch of arches. Same thing applies to arches. See how it gives you the arch 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just naming to me, naming is really important. And I think once you get that, once you understand that naming your props is very important. Here's the biggest one that I see, and I'm sure everybody that has been with xLights for a long time has seen this. Okay, I got a problem with the single line, and I don't know what it's doing, and we've got polylines everywhere, but we don't know what is what. Like what's your problem? And so you see how it says polyline, single line 2, single line 3. Name them. If this polyline is going to be your outline of a gable, then put right gable on it. It's not that hard. Okay. If this is going to be your garage roof line, name it garage roof line. And now when you're helping, if somebody comes to help you, say, hey, I got a problem with my garage roof line. Well, it didn't save it. I'm sorry. I don't know why it didn't do that. Oh, I know why it didn't do that. I didn't hit save. So there's the garage spelling. Roof line. I'll tab that off and I'm going to hit save on that. Now, when I come back to that, interesting why that is not saving. This might be, now I'm on the updated with xLights. Just something new. Why it's not saving that. It's not locked. No. Save it. Now it took it. Interesting why it didn't take it the first time. No big deal. We got it.
All right, Rodney had a question in chat as far as what about saving zip files that were downloaded from vendors? Where would you put those?
What you can do with those is, and again, it's a personal preference thing. So this happened a few years ago, and I'm positive it's been fixed. But when you did a bulk render, and this is many years ago, with one of the fellows that I was helping, it would bulk render everything, and it went through everything. But it doesn't. I think all of that has been fixed. I'm almost positive it's been fixed. But you could create a new folder in here if you wanted to, and you could call it purchased sequences. Okay, you could call it borrowed sequences. I don't care what you call it, but you could have them in here. Okay, if you don't want to leave this in your show folder, then throw it out here in your desktop. I don't care where you put it. I try and keep it. Well, I don't ever purchase them, so it doesn't matter. But I personally don't like it inside my show folder. Some guys do, some guys don't. That's a personal preference. I keep it out here. I know where it is. I go to a sequence and I download it. Bang, I can drop it right in here. And that's a simple thing to do. So I can just open this up and I can hit this and I can hit copy here and I can drop it in here. And there's the paste. And there it is. So now I've got a sequence that doesn't interfere with my show, but that's just me. That doesn't mean that you have to do that. If you want to put it in your show folder, do it. If you don't, keep it out here. You'll always know where it is, because when you go to import a sequence, and I'll just come up here and we'll just sort of, so if I'm going to import an effect, well, I don't have a sequence open, so let's just open one quickly, and I don't have anything in here, so it's not going to be, there'll be really nothing to, so it's going to ask me to import an effect, and then I can just come to my desktop and I can come to purchase sequences and I can hit this and open it. And it'll give me everything I want. So I've got a MegaTree. So, I mean, I could drop a MegaTree on here and we'll just auto map that. MegaTree 1 didn't give it to me, so I'll drop that on there and see what happens. We'll hit OK. Yeah, that's fine. And there it is. So there's my MegaTree. And it'll give me all the timing marks and everything that I need. So put your purchase sequences wherever you can get to them, wherever you're comfortable putting them. It's no big secret. There's no big trick to purchase sequences or borrowed sequences, or even when you download the sequences from xLights. So let's go back. I think we'll go back and see if there's any questions. I don't know what else I can tell you other than, just to summarize, create a music file, create a picture file, create a sequence folder. Shaders, xLights will do. Create a video file. And I like to leave these 4 items out in the open, so I always know what's going on. If I have to go into a backup folder, I can. I'm not going there. Don't want to do that today. That'll mess people up. I always say, if you got a problem with your folders, hit the Zoom room. Those guys are in there. They're fantastic guys. And I did my time in there. I don't go in there too much anymore. But they're great guys, and they'll sort you out in a heartbeat. If you mess up your show file folders and you don't know where it is, you lost it on your computer, go ask those guys. Hence, the terabyte drive will help you, and Dropbox will help you. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, and if anybody's got any questions.
I got a quick one.
Sure.
So if you have a 2 shows and they're both Christmas, right? But 2 separate show folders. So in my instance, I have an xLights show folder, which has exactly how you spelled it out: animations or images, video files, music, so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the same type of setup in my other Christmas show folder.
Yeah.
When I create a when I'm splitting between the 2 show folders, and I am using or creating a sequence, and I'm using an animation, let's say, right? Or an image, however you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
How do I want to share that animation from one animation folder? In other words, if I have an animation folder set up in my xLights show,
yeah,
and I use it in my traditional show,
mm-hmm.
it's going to pull it from that animation folder in the xLights show.
Yeah.
But do I want to separate that? Does it matter?
Okay. So again, it's a personal preference thing. You can let the computer do all of the work, and it'll pull it if you want. But I personally like to take any images that I have from one show folder and I put them in my other show folder, so that xLights is just, it's bang, there it is. So I don't care if I've got 2 copies of Santa. I don't care if I've got 2 copies of Rudolph or whatever.
Right. I agree with that. So is there a setting that causes that I can disable? Because I don't think I'd rather have my animations where I set them per show, like you're saying. But it seems like it's automatically pulling it, and I don't know if I did something to create that, or is there like a default setting that just says, you know what, we're just going to pull it from the animation folder you already have. We're not gonna let you download it into a separate folder. It's going to be here.
Yeah, well, I when I create my new show folder, like a second show folder, I physically will spend 15 or 20 minutes and I'll bring over every image that I
Oh,
have.
okay.
I'll,
Okay.
I'll physically bring them over.
So you
Okay.
just duplicate them to each
That
folder.
that's what I do.
Okay.
So, and I
And you're
know
going to want to do that, right? Especially if you're going to package that folder, you need those images in that specific show folder, right? You
yeah,
can't
that's right.
you
Yeah,
can't do it and pull it from another show. So, okay.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
All right, that makes
So,
sense.
and I know, and I see Alex is typing, and he's a guy that's been developing, and so he can chime in a little bit too. Alex, don't be afraid to pipe up and throw in your 2 cents. Um, um,
I didn't see where he was typing, but I'll look for that.
yeah,
Unless he wants to,
There is
unless he,
no option.
oh, okay.
It's just a file browser. So when you choose your image, it could be anywhere on your drive, right? The problem with not bringing it into your show folder that if you ever go in and rename that folder or delete it, then your image is gone. So pull it in from wherever you want, and there's a tools option when you're done to
Yeah.
clean up file location. That will go through your sequence and will pull any images and videos that are not in your show folder into your show folder.
Where
Yep.
is it? Tools, options, or what is it, Alex?
Tools, clean up file location.
Clean up. Okay.
That's the purpose of that, is to gather all of the assets outside your show folder for that sequence and put them into your show folder.
So that I understand that correctly, if I use these animations in the show folder, that is not where the animations are, but then I go ahead and use clean up file location, it'll automatically do that and push those over to that other file.
We'll copy them over to
Oh,
whatever show
perfect.
folder the sequence belongs in. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. I
And
appreciate that.
handle the renaming on the fly. So if you already have one, it won't override. So if you have a Santa in it, you already used one, it will, even though they might actually be the same one, it doesn't know that, right?
Okay.
But it will just say Santa_1 to not collide the assets.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
hopefully
Perfect. All right, that's
yeah.
what I was looking for. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. That's fantastic. So, see, that's the beauty of having developers that kind of hang around the rooms and just don't take the Zoom room lightly, people. If you're just getting into this hobby, these guys are developers and they're fantastic guys. They'll spend the time with you and they'll help you. And they have more tricks and tips than you can shake a stick at. Okay. I was taught the old way. I had to learn the old way, and I'm still kind of old fashioned, but it works for me and I get through it. But and you got to remember, I'm not great on a computer. I'm good with some jokes.
And singing.
And well,
I'm playing guitar.
Yeah, singing and playing guitar, and that's about it. But so we got a question about batch render exists. How about a batch cleanup? So we're getting more questions. Like go ahead and unmute and ask your questions, and then we'll be able to help you guys. How about a batch cleanup? Now, when you say a batch cleanup, Dennis, what do you mean by a batch cleanup?
So you can do a batch render and it'll go through all your sequences and render them all.
That's correct.
But for cleanup files, you have to open a sequence, clean up the file, close it, open the next sequence, clean up the files, then close it, open the next sequence, clean up the files. I'm saying it would be nice to have a batch cleanup files similar to the way batch render works.
Now, if my thinking is correct, if you go into the GitHub and put in a possible request for something like that, they might be able to come up with something like that. Unfortunately, I know how to delete stuff. I don't know how to create stuff. So, but I like, yeah.
Sorry, just got a question. How do you know when to use a permanent file or temporary file in xLights?
Well, there's two ways. If let's say you want to jump around and quickly have a look at somebody else's sequence or a different show folder, then you can use temporary. I just change them back and forth when I need them. I try not to jump around too much when I'm sequencing or working on something. I just go to that show folder and I work on it. And I don't really jump back and forth. What happens is some of the big sequencers, the guys that are doing multi shows and stuff, they'll jump around and go back and forth. There's really no set path on why should I use a temporary show folder and why should I use a permanent show folder. I've just always used permanent, jump back and forth. And if you need to go into the permanent one to look at how a guy did you still have to, even if you use the temporary, you still have to restore back to permanent to do what you're going to do. I always open two applications of xLights. And if I'm working on something and I want to see how somebody did something, it's kind of a cool effect. I'll open up that sequence and I'll look at it and say, oh, that's cool. That's what they did. And then I can learn, and I learned that way. I don't know if that helps you, Jay, but
Yeah, no, that was good. It's just I was always concerned back in the day that I would mess something up if I went from permanent to temporary or whatnot. So
yeah, you won't really mess anything up. It's just that Alex is saying that it won't preserve the location when you reopen xLights. So when you open xLights, it's going to open your permanent show folder. Okay, it will not open your temporary show folder. Okay. So and yeah, there's nothing you can mess up. So
okay, all right, yeah, sounds good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll jump in. Don, we have just a couple minutes left. We got 4 minutes. Look like Jeff had a question. Jeff, if you want to unmute real quick, I'm sure Don can squeeze that in before we hit time.
Darn it.
Well, his question was, as far as the directory, do I need to select each folder like images, videos, or can I just point to VCS 2024? Also, how do I get xLights to stop looking at the old show folder? And then,
oh well, yeah. If he creates a new show folder and he names it, then just point xLights to that new show folder. As long as, and I'll quickly share again, and hopefully this will help him. So in the VCS, xLights this is what xLights is looking for. It's looking for this folder. It's looking for that folder. Okay. If you have all of these embedded in your sequence folder, then you've got to open up the sequence folder. So you want to keep these inside the main folder, if that makes sense. Okay. Like don't bury any of this stuff. Leave it out here. That's important. And then when you go to open xLights, it will open up that folder. And I'll just quickly open it. Well, I'll open xLights. So give us 15 minutes. No, it doesn't take that long. So when I'm in here, if I wanted to change permanently, I'm going to come to my desktop and I know where the VCS Halloween show is. I'm going to click that and I'm going to select that folder. And there's my Halloween show folder. If I want to go back and change permanently and I want to come back to my VCS Christmas folder, I'm going to select that folder. I'm going to come to the layout. Everything is there. So when I close xLights, because I'm on change permanently, it is going to open this folder for me when I reopen. If I hit change temporarily right now, and I go to my desktop and I hit my Halloween folder and I want to look at that, that's great. But when I close xLights and I go to open, it will automatically go back to my other show folder. It will not open this one unless I direct it to. Does that make sense? Hopefully.
It does to me. We have literally a minute left. If there's any very quick questions.
Hey guys, I got a quick one.
Sure, real quick.
Okay, this is Harry. Alex, you gave me a lot of help with this a couple weeks ago about structure here. If I want to add a year for sequences, is my best bet just to do it in sequences and then just like right now it says sequences. If I change that to sequences 2024, and then next year I just in that same show folder did a new folder called sequences 2025.
You can certainly do that if you want to. I've never ever put the years on my sequences. It didn't really matter to me. Some sequences I'm going to use yearly. I mean, Wizards of Winter is a sequence that's been around since 2011, and so that sequence is now what 13 years old or 12 years old, 13 years old, and people are still using that sequence. So there's no sense putting a year on it. If I like a sequence, I'm going to use it. But yes, if the answer to your question is yes, if you want to do that, you can. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it doesn't matter what I think on that, right?
Okay.
That's a personal preference thing. If you want to do that, feel free. Go ahead.
As long as the sequence folder is inside the main show folder, it's okay.
And
right?
and if you're not going to use your 2024 sequences anymore, then take that 2024 sequence folder and move it out and just have a sequence folder in there. And then when you're done, you can rename, at the end of the year, when you're done, you can rename that folder 2025 old sequences and move that out and just create another folder, if that makes sense. Okay.
Gotcha. Yep.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Perfect. With that, Don, I appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and stop the recording. If you want to hang here and watch the next intro to motion graphics is the next session. Otherwise, feel free to jump out to the next one. Don, thanks again.
Hey, thank you. And just last little tip for everybody, like, don't be afraid to go into the Zoom room if you need help. Those guys are fantastic over there.